Hi, everyone. Good morning. First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone, and thank again for the partnership of Israel Trade and Investments, because we are on the second webinar talking about the Israel ecosystem innovation, and also to bring more information about the relations of innovation and the energy sector. And today we are going to discuss the last webinar. We discussed about the bioenergy sector and what's the opportunity for the Brazilian market. And today we are going to discuss the relation between blockchain, new technologies, and the energy sector. Of course, not only in Brazil, but also in Israel, what Israel is doing to deal with the blockchain. That is a very, how can I say, new topic and concept that we are dealing mainly with the energy sector. And only to present myself, I'm RENATA ABREU, the founder of the first NRGHub in Brazil. And our intention as a hub is to promote actions like that we can connect people and companies to drive business development around the energy sector based mostly on the innovation and sustainability. And now I'll invite my friend Leandro Martins, that is the CEO of Synergy Ventures, to present himself, and then we start our webinar inviting the Israeli Consul for Economic Affairs. So welcome everyone. So Leandro, feel free to present yourself.
Thank you, Renata. Good morning, everyone. I'm Leandro Martins. I'm CEO of Synergy Ventures, a venture builder for startups that have solutions for the energy sector. At first, I'd like to thank all the guests and everyone that's watching us on YouTube. I'm pretty sure that we will have a great event. It's a great opportunity to share experiences and to know more about the Israel's ecosystem. And I like to thank you, the Israel's embassy, for the partnership, and thank you, Renata, for this invitation and confidence. It's a very great pleasure to be here and to support you on this initiative. Okay. So thank you again.
Thank you, Leandro. So now I'll invite, sorry if I don't pronounce correctly, TSAHI Reich. I'll invite you to tell us more about what is happening in Israel relating to the innovation ecosystem, bringing more information about this topic that we are treating today, that is the blockchain. So feel free to start. I'll share your presentation here.
Excellent.
I'm almost a DJ now.
Okay, so while you share the screen of the presentation, I will start. So first of all, thank you very much for the opportunity. Also on behalf of my dear colleague from the RE office, managing the RE office, is actually heading the energy sector for us, and couldn't attend this event for personal positive reasons. So thank you again for the opportunity, for enabling us to collaborate with Energy. So first of all, I'll introduce myself. My name is TSAHI Reich. I'm the Economic Counsel heading the Sao Paulo office. Let's move to the next slide, please. And And I'm a part of the Ministry of Economy and Industry. We have a network of over 45 trade missions around strategic economic cities. We have two, as I mentioned, two trade missions in Brazil, in Sao Paulo and Rio. And what we basically do is facilitate trade. So we connect between potential partners, we resolve trade barriers, we provide professional information, and also are very active in promoting B2B activities, whether it's directly through delegations that we bring from Israel to Brazil, vice versa, as well as events, which BC, before Corona, we would participate in different events with an Israeli pavilion. And if you're asking yourself, what do we do during the pandemic days? We basically do exactly the same thing, just utilizing the digital world. So we do everything based on different platforms. Of course, it's not the same thing. It's not the personal interaction that you have when you meet face to face, but this is the way today, during the restriction time, how to promote businesses. Let's move to the next slide, please. So a bit about Israel. Israel is a tiny country, both in size and in population, roughly 22,000 square kilometers with around 9 million people. Actually, this is a very exciting day because yesterday we just finished another election round and we're waiting to see the results. Israel, although small, we are ranked 29th with GDP per capita around $42,000 US dollars. With a growth in 2019, growth was around 3.4%. Of course, 2020 looks a bit different. I'll touch about this in a second. And we have around $115 billion of exports. Let's move on. Israel is known as a nation of innovation, or a startup nation, if you may. And part of what is consisting this is the fact that we have over 300 multinationals decided to open R&D in Israel. We have 13% of our GDP, which is derived from the high-tech industry. Nearly 4,000 startups, which for a country in our size is really tremendous. It's a lot. We are first in the amount of startups per capita. We are ranked third with companies listed in the New York Stock Exchange after the US and China, and fourth in the global startup ecosystem ranking. And basically, the engine that I'm talking about is about 1,400 new startups on a yearly basis. Of course, majority of them do not pass the curve, they die. But still, if you move to the next slide, it's creating very successful companies later. Some of these solutions I'm sure that you're familiar with, or using without knowing that they originated in Israel. Waze for me in Sao Paulo, especially during the normal days, is a lifesaver. And for all of you that are using cellular phones and laptops, good chances that the Intel chip inside your machine is designed and possibly manufactured in Israel. Let's continue. So I mentioned we have over 300 leading corporations that decided to open R&D facility in Israel. One more click, please. And the question that you must ask yourself is why? Let's move on. Yeah, let's move to the next slide, please. Thank you. So for that, we need to understand a bit better about Israel and about the talent in Israel. So I mentioned Israel is a young country, established 72 years ago. Let's move on. And the mindset of people, and some of it is of course connected to the fact that it was established also by many immigrants. is that Israeli in general are risk takers. And very different from other cultures, tolerance for failure in Israel is very high. I'll even say more than that. In many cases, if you are interviewed by a VC, which is thinking of investing in you, if you don't share with him that you had failures in the past, this is a red signal. Because failures are part of the process, and when you learn from failures, this is how you improve yourself. Israelis are also very solutions-oriented. I like to use an Yiddish word which describes us relatively well. It's called chutzpah, which is something between being brave and being rude. But it's basically a characteristic that you will find in many of us. Driven to get the solution by all means. Let's move on. So, what are the sources for innovation in Israel? I like to split it into 3 pillars. One is, of course, the government. The government, in specific timing throughout the history, was very smart in fixing some market failures in order to initiate the innovation ecosystem. For example, the establishment of the Israel Innovation Authority, which was a joint project with the World Bank, as well as kickstarting the VC scene during the 80s and 90s in Israel, which today is a very mature scene, and also very active in supporting and promoting Israeli companies to collaborate and also to export. Second pillar, I will relate to the academy and to the army. And the reason that I'm relating to both of them together is because both of them are responsible for creating the talent. In the army, if you ask yourself, what's that role in this? Well, we are recruited to the army for compulsory services at the age of 18, and in a very young age, we find ourselves in difficult situation. We have to take decision. We have to work in teams, and we also engage with technology. So, Army has a very important role in shaping the talent. By the way, also in creating challenges, both for the academy and for the private sector, different technological challenges that then the private sector needs to come up with a solution for. The academy, of course, goes without saying, high degrees, very good knowledge base, providing the talent with the theoretical knowledge they need. And the last pillar that, of course, is crucial in this is, of course, the private sector. And in this, I relate to the VCs and to the companies, the corporations, those multinationals that I mentioned. So this is all of it. It's basically the sources for innovation. Let's continue. And this creates a lot of exits. So in the last decade, we had over 1,200 exits in Israel. See, in 2019, we had around 138 deals. And of course, 2020 looked different. 2020, Israel was hit by the pandemic, similar to other countries around the world. But so maybe surprising or not, after 3 quarters, which were relatively very, very low with almost zero activities, the 4th quarter showed a tremendous rise. And actually, when we look at the forecast for 2021, Israel looks to be in a very good position, both because we entered the pandemic with a very strong economy, and also because we are already at a point where a majority of the population has been vaccinated, and the forecasts are very positive for 2021. Let's continue. You can see some of the main acquiring companies. I'm sure that you're familiar with them, whether it's Intel, IBM, and you can see below them that it's not just one company. it's a process throughout the years where they scout and interact with the ecosystem in Israel, which in many cases ends with an acquisition or a merge with Israeli companies. Let's continue. So a bit about Israel and Brazil. We are complementary countries and economies. For Israel, Brazil is in the 10 biggest export countries, a very strategic country for us. We have a trade balance of around $1.5 billion, and we have great infrastructure for trade, starting from a bilateral agreement between us and the Mercosur, and also with R&D agreements that we've signed in the past 2 years between the Israel Innovation Authority and FINEP and ABREU. Let's move on. So very short on the energy sector, because we have great speakers after me that can speak much better than I can. We have over 400 Israeli companies in the energy sector. And this is pretty amazing for a country that until recently had zero resources in the area. Only in the past years we found some natural gas in the sea. But generally, Israel has very limited resources. So if you ask yourself in what areas do you find solutions, I would say almost in every aspect you can think of, whether they are clean tech solutions, renewable energies, energy storage and efficiency, smart grid, solar systems, recycling, and we do have a lot of R&D cutting technology being conducted in Israel. And you know, it's also in other fields. It's not just related to the energy sector. Sometimes it overlaps with other sectors as the automotive industry or I'll say industry 4.0, but also with we have lots of innovation in other sectors, whether it's communication, cyber, and so on. I'll end my presentation. We can move to the last slide. Almost. I will use the opportunity to invite everyone to an event that we are promoting together with our colleagues from Latin America and the Export Institute in Israel. We're doing a virtual expo on energy, which will take place on May 25th and 26th. Please save the date, and we'll be very happy to have you participate and engage with the Israeli companies that will take part of it. And now we'll end with the last slide, which is my colleagues' contact details. Really, please feel free to engage with us, with the trade missions here in Brazil. We are here to support you and connect you with the relevant counterparts in Israel. And again, on behalf of Tali and myself, thank you for the opportunity to present here, and thank you, Renata.
So I'll come back here. Thank you. It's very interesting to see the power of the country, like when you have everything integrated, and also when you have investments on R&D through the innovation apply. So this is very, very inspiring for us. So I know you have to travel to Israel, so keep yourself safe and and your family. Good travel to Israel, and of course we will be glad to participate on May on the event. It's a very interesting topic for us, and we also I put myself and NRGHub available to contribute with the event. If you want to bring an international or a Brazilian panel for this event, count on us. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
So now I'll invite Igor Nivo. I was very impressed when I look for Tezos Israel. There is an innovation lab that serves the Israel ecosystem, through the blockchain and technology. So I was very excited to listen and hear more about it. And also, Igor Nevo is the CEO of the Israeli Blockchain Forum. So he will share with us an overview about the blockchain market in Israel. And I invite you all that are with us here on the YouTube to send questions if you have, or share your opinion and experience also on this topic. So I'll welcome you, Eagle. So feel free if you have
yeah, I'll share the
presentation.
presentation. Yeah. One moment. Yeah, you can see that? See the presentation?
Yeah.
Excellent. So it's a real pleasure to be here with NRGHub in Israel, and investment people, the great delegates of Israel all over the world, in Brazil, especially thanks to Deborah. Yeah. You can see that? Okay. You see my face, right? Renata, cool.
Yeah.
So, as Renata said, I'm the CEO of the Israeli Blockchain Forum. Tell about it, a little bit about it in a second. CEO of Tezos Israel. I'm a member of the OECD BBAP. It's a blockchain advisory board of blockchain people all over the world that try to make sense how government can react to blockchain technology and how they can implement blockchain technology, not only to teach and train in, developers, also how to implement in the government, in official governmental companies. I'm also a member of the ISO blockchain technological committees to see what is the standard of blockchain, how we use blockchain, and how is the best way to do project, because there are many questions, and I'll talk about it also about the carbon footprint and ecological footprint when we use on blockchain technology. So, as I said, the Israeli Blockchain Forum is a unique forum established by leading investors and CEOs of Israeli blockchain industry. Even though most Israeli blockchain companies not operational in Israel, they see Israel as a place that we can thrive and even use blockchain as a sandbox here. So we try to make the right regulation, how to take the present regulation and move it forward, that blockchain companies can use not only cryptocurrencies, but also the usage of blockchain technology in the life of the citizens and the use of governmental officials.
Sorry, Eagle, if you want to try to share again your screen, because yes, when you share, you are going only to see your presentation, but we are going to see you on the YouTube streaming. We are going to see everything. So if you want to try again.
So now you don't see the presentation, right? One moment.
No.
Okay.
Sorry about it. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I do it once again, I hope.
Yeah. Only to.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It's okay now?
Yeah, it's okay. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So everybody who's familiar in the blockchain global ecosystem, Tezos is a infrastructure of blockchain. It's an open source smart contract and blockchain platform. We have 1,000 of developers all over the world, and we are building many use cases on blockchain. Especially we are working with governments on the CBDC, the central bank digital coin, security token offering, NFTs, the last big boast of blockchain world to sell art in a digital asset form. So it's a global project, many representatives all over the world. We are one in Israel, part of 20 representatives globally, and we are innovation hub. So we also train developers how to develop on blockchain. And if you know someone who wants to learn how to develop the blockchain, please reach us, because we are making trainings globally all over the world. Other thing, we want entrepreneurs to come and start to think about startups that you can use blockchain in any field that's possible. And because the ecosystem, or because the foundation that raise money, we are invest and take part in many interesting startups all over the world. So that is Tezos and Tezos Israel. I want to make a short brief about the Israeli blockchain industry. TSAHI told the big picture of the Israeli high-tech industry. I want to focus on the blockchain. So we now have 6,660 tech companies globally on all fields of high-tech. So just in 2020, as TSAHI said, almost 600 investment deals, raised almost $10 billion. This is the Israeli high-tech scene. When we look on blockchain, we have now 140 blockchain companies in Israel in a population of 9 million people. There's no place like that globally. We have almost 40 VCs and angels that invest primarily on blockchain, not on other fields. And we raised till now, it's now more $2.1 billion and counting, as we all think the COVID era and the digitalization will raise the interest of blockchain and the usage, and it's going to be much higher. When we look on the companies, we have 1,200 employees, and it's very difficult to find employees, trust me. There are 5 big companies that more than 50 employees, and many others are small, but as you can see, it's very vivid industry. Most of the blockchain companies already released a product, almost 40%. This is amazing, and the unfortunate thing, Israel is not enjoying that. Most of the company is not giving services to Israeli because of regulation. So we can see that they are thriving, cutting at the technology in Israel, but less usage of Israeli consumers. In the blockchain field, most of it is financial side. As you can see, most of the areas of the Israeli blockchain industry, it's exchanges of financial services. But in the last years, there's a shift on the use, not only on the financial side, not on the cryptocurrency or any other digital assets as NFTs, but we can see a use on blockchain in many other fields. And the most interesting part also, we can see globally on energy field. So if we have questions till now, Renata, please let me know. If not, I want to jump to one use case that Tezos doing on France, that we are talking about why they're doing it and what is the meaning of the ecological footprint or carbon footprint. Is there any questions?
No, for now, I don't think if our colleagues here on our stage, if after they want to ask you some questions,
excellent.
But you can move forward, and after we can discuss about it.
Excellent. I'm moving forward. So,
okay.
As we all know, the use of blockchain, the mining of Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., it costs a lot of energy. And one of the interesting use cases that now in the Tezos ecosystem globally, it's the French electric power generation, the EDF, have some kind of innovation called Action. And Action, what they are doing, they take all the services that now on the servers of the EDF, putting on a cloud and then using on cloud the use of blockchain. Why? Because it's optimized the use of energy and reducing the carbon footprint of the French electric power governmental power generation, and it reduced that they can use the ISO 5001 certificate. It's amazing that there's a power company, a power company of a big country that they now testing the use of blockchain, how to reduce the amount of use of power, and then they're going to offer to any other governmental company, not only in France or globally. Why they are doing that? You can see if we are using on Bitcoin or Ethereum platform, you can see the difference. You can see annual energy consumption on the Bitcoin. You can see how it's enormous use, and it cannot be used on project because if it costs to use the platform more than the transaction, it doesn't have any future. Even Ethereum, the second one, it's using too much power, electric power to use. You can see on Tezos field, it's fractions of that. Also, the continuous draw, you can see the difference. It's 2 million times more than the use of Tezos platform. Why we have those differences? University of Cambridge, look on both the most upfront the Bitcoin and Ethereum platform. You see, if Bitcoin was a country, the annual energy consumption will be placed between countries Ukraine and Argentina. That's the use of electric power. And if we look on Ethereum, it's comparable to Ecuador, a country of 17 million people. So if we understand and we want to use blockchain, if we use those platforms, it costs too much, and the carbon footprint, it's not going to be something that we can rely on. The difference is the way that now the platform operates. It's called proof of stake. So we are not, the system not checking each transaction inside of the system, but they have some other kind of incentives that you can let the user use, and then you only check the full stake that you hold. I don't want to enter it much more than that because you can learn, and I'd be happy to answer outside of this great conference. But the main thing we need to see that if we are thinking to use blockchain as a platform that they can increase the trust on the system and reduce the middlemen and reduce the payments that we are using on the blockchain, we need to look on the platform that have the least of the carbon footprint possible. That's the only way that it could be scalable in the future. And that's why the ISO, the organization, can give the ISO 5001, and I think many of the participants know that what is the ISO 5001. It's the commitment of organization to reduce resources, improve the bottom of the efficient energy management. And it's really possible to use now blockchain in many procedure inside startups inside enterprise, inside governmental enterprise, etc., if you use the proper blockchain platform. So the question is, what will be the standard? And now we still don't have a standard. What is blockchain? And there are many platforms that want to be the standard. And I think who is going to make the standard? It's not only the ISO, but the customer. And when you start to use blockchain, and as many as the companies, big or small, they will say what standard they want to use on blockchain. And if we'll see the trade of NFTs, now the cost of putting art on the market is almost $200. So because of the gas, because of the use of electricity, it can be reduced to nothing. And that's the way that the use of blockchain can be in many fields. So I make it really fast, and as we said, time for question and answers.
Yeah, we have 2 questions I'll bring here because we have a little bit of time.
I stop sharing.
Yeah, you can. Okay, you are seeing us again?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you can see me?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so I bring a question from Ricardo Normand. Yeah, you can see the questions there. Yeah, because I think I don't know all the terms that he puts
He's
there.
asking about NFTs, but we need to
Yes.
NFTs. It's not fungible tokens. It's the big buzz that like NBA put LeBron James dunk. You know, you can, and the Banksy painting. Everybody talking about NFTs, and I just want to say the most important thing when I'm talking about energy now, it's the energy, how we reduce the energy use. And I think, and because I believe as many other blockchain, it's the new internet, because you can move assets between one another, the trust between two partners without middlemen. It's something that's going to change the way that we are operate. And it's much more governmental technology than financial technology. So I want to say to Ricardo, you can ask me after that. I promise you to answer the question properly. I just want to say here, as the internet at first, we didn't know how to use it and what do we want from him. When we combine energy to blockchain, we need to understand that it needs to help the energy tech world to do the jump. If it costs too much energy to use any technology, it's not scalable. We'll not use that. So we are now in the part that government want to understand what is blockchain, how do we use it, how we do our own digital currencies, how we implement it in many governmental bureaucratical procedure. And that's the standard of energy should be one of the most important things. And that's why Ricardo asking how it's many of the use of Ethereum, because it costs too much and because of carbon footprint, they are moving to other platforms, and one of the most known is Tezos.
Okay, so I'll bring another one. It's related to the energy consumption from Carlos Pacheco. So he interesting to know if the energy consumption due to mining new crypto coins or related to the transactions in the blockchain.
In Tezos, we call it bakery. We are baking and not mining, but it's only, just because they are French, the base of Tezos is French and they love baguette and bake. But yeah. We are talking about making new coins, and not on the transaction, but also in the transaction, everything, because we can use the baking with our own laptop, and we don't need the big farms all over the world that now mining the Bitcoin. That's what makes everything go less. As I said, 2 million times less than Bitcoin to mine a Tezos or transact in the blockchain system. So that's the main one of the two main benefits of Tezos. The other thing, I don't know if you know, on blockchain, is the forking. The many platforms that fork all the time, Bitcoin, Ethereum also, because some people on the ecosystem don't like the new way. In Tezos, there are now possibility to fork. So because of that, it's very stable platform, and that's why the French energy company use that to check many innovating possibility on reducing or making the use of energy less than now. That's I hope I answered that.
Yeah.
Thoroughly.
Yeah. I'll bring one more question, and then we move for the other presentations. But one from Marcelo Ambrosio is he wants to know how the blockchain solution address clean energy certificates for ESG companies, and how it can be related to the local regulations. So when we call local regulations, we are talking about Brazil, and I don't think you even me, I really don't know all the regulations for ESG. We have like this discussion becomes more popular nowadays, but this is a very interesting question, how we can put the blockchain related to the ESG companies.
I've been 14 years working with the Israeli government. I understand the regulation, I think, in the most high-end possible. And I tell you, when we are talking about new technology in government, I think what we are aiming is to test the technology. I want to take in a very big and macro way. We need to do sandboxes. We need to do test site. We need to see if the use of, like any other experiment, and the government understand that. I'm working with the Israeli government in many ministries to see how they can only test the technology inside of their own procedures. Only then, if the Ministry of Energy of Brazil, and we can see now that the French electric are getting the ISO 5001 certificate, it's making sense. So it's possibly that the clean energy certificate can possibly can be granted if you use this kind of technology. You need to test that. You need to think about what procedure and go to the regulator and tell them, we think that if we use on blockchain this kind of procedure, it makes sense and we can get that certificate. Tezos Israel is innovation lab. We have more than 20 other innovation labs all over the world. You can reach us. We can think about the way that you can use it. But the main work with the government, we have to do that because the standard, that's the only thing that we can move forward. And when we have smart regulation in the European world, in the US, South America, someone will build a proper regulation environment to use blockchain and energy. Everybody will copy that. So go there and try to make the right use of that.
Okay, thank you, Igor.
Also,
if you want, if you want to share with us your contacts, so then the interested companies and person can reach you. So feel free to share with us on our private chat, or even if you want to follow us also on the YouTube, feel free to share your contacts directly. So thank you very much.
I also do a private chat, and I want to thank you, RENATA, to NRGHub. It was amazing. And thank you to Deborah for the Israeli trade and investment. You are great, and I was really honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So now we are traveling on the innovation blockchain, and now we are going to talk about new technologies applied to the energy sector. So I'll invite Amin Grainoker. I hope I pronounced correctly. He is the business development manager at F-Site, that is a distributed energy management platform that applies artificial intelligence to predict, optimize, and trade in the energy market. So, Amin, feel free to share with us your presentation and to present yourself also. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm very glad to be here today. And I thank you for the kind words. So as you already mentioned, today I will talk about artificial intelligence, but before I want to share some words about my background. So before I worked on artificial intelligence, I also was looking into blockchain applications in the energy space. So I've been working at the United Nations in the Climate Tech Innovation Division to see how we can apply blockchain in the energy space to promote the acceleration to clean energy. I've been also part of the Blockchain Association of Germany, which largely contributes to what was established last year, the Blockchain German strategy. So today, as mentioned, I'm more on the artificial intelligence side, but I think it's equally important to look at other technologies when we are looking into these technological innovations, because it's all about convergence. Without blockchain and the combination with artificial intelligence and other technologies in that space, we won't be able to reach the potential of these innovations. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the technology of F-Site, but before, a little perspective on how we observe the energy markets, or what developments we see. From our perspective, the energy market is undergoing one of the most fundamental transformations we ever saw. And this is driven mostly by 4 components. This is renewable energy increase, such as photovoltaic and wind. We see the prices of storage units dropping. We see millions of smart meters being installed, and also the electric vehicle adaptation is rapidly increasing. And all of those trends are implying a complete paradigm shift to a more decentral energy system, or in other words, a more volatile market. So what do we need in order to adapt to that transformation, or to make it a success? Basically and simple, our system have to become more flexible or more responsive. In other ways, we could also say that it has to become more autonomous and intelligent. And this is what we are working on F-Site. So we are developing a distributed energy management platform, which is based on artificial intelligence. And that platform is called Energia AI and has 4 capabilities. First, the cloud-based technology is able to connect to the hardware components, such as PV or battery. With the data that is gathered, we are able to predict the behavior of these new components, but we're also able to optimize and to trade the electricity of these new components. Based on these capabilities, we are currently offering 2 products on the market, one's for forecasting and one's for optimizing of these resources. So just as clarification, once more, distributed energy resources are photovoltaic system, battery, EVs, and other distributed components which are now coming to the energy system. What I want to show here is an example of all the use cases our technology can be used for. We are able to optimize single sites, so behind the meter assets, but we can also optimize entire communities or microgrids, so combination of these single sites in local proximities. What is also possible is to aggregate all of these sites in a more diverse and larger portfolio and unlock other flexibilities and engage with existing energy markets, such as auxiliary services or energy trades. To give you a glimpse about who is using our technology, we provide our Predict solution mostly to utilities, energy providers, and other suppliers, which are using the technology to improve the accuracy of their forecasts, to improve the trading, and in some cases, especially in Israel, also to fulfill the regulatory requirements. So the tolerance for forecasting errors becomes stricter and stricter in order to assure the stability, given the more volatile nature of the energy systems. The second product of ours is not only used by utilities, but also by new players in the market, so real estate owners who have their own PV installation batteries and want to make the most out of the assets that they own. So how does it look like when you're using such a technology? Basically, the setup is really simple. It's a plug-and-play solution. We developed an API which allows our clients to onboard their data infrastructure to our system. And this process is really simple and fast, and one is able to get the first accuracy results within weeks. So what we saw from today is that our solution provides up to 40% higher accuracy improvements to existing deterministic forecasts. So artificial intelligence is not only an add-on, but a significant improver. To better highlight how such a process works or what makes it so unique, why should you use artificial intelligence for these applications? First of all, I mentioned that the data availability due to smart meters becomes larger, but the data usually is in bad quality, so sophisticated mechanism to recover some missing data or get rid of some outliers are required. So what we developed is a comprehensive approach of automatically integrating and increasing the data quality, while at the same time adjusting the machine learning models to the use case which is most accurate for the portfolio one wants to forecast. When we look into the second product in more detail, how that looked like, it is basically an update of the forecasting solution. So one is also able to predict the behavior of these assets, but in addition, when operating distributed energy resources with our solution, the optimization runs autonomously. So when to buy or when to sell electricity within the portfolio, which should be optimized, is run completely automatically, which is essential when we're looking into decentralized system, as let's say the transaction cost has to be really, really slow to make it economically feasible. So what our solution achieved to date is up to 40% savings in energy costs. To give an example how such an optimization could look like, we are running successfully a showcase in Israel in one of the kibbutz with more than 200 members, PV installation, wind installation, batteries, and other components to demonstrate the viability of what we call the future electricity grid. So an electricity network which is optimized by an autonomous artificial intelligence distributed energy management platform. To date, we delivered projects around 25 in total, plus in more than 10 countries. We are collaborating with one of the, or some of the largest utilities in Europe, such as Uniper or Verbund, but also other large international companies as ABB or SPP. And we are very glad to have been chosen as one of the finalists for the SAP Coherent in Israel. So we are really active and glad for these opportunities to also co-design solutions with utilities and companies who want to push forward innovation in that space. So as a final slide, some information about EFSAT itself. It was founded in 2015 in Israel. We are currently a team of approximately 18 people, mostly consisting of data scientists, software developers. So we are a technology provider, collaborating with utilities and building B2B solutions and providing it as a software as a service. Our home turf is Israel, and what I want to share here as a final remark is we are participating in the event which was previously mentioned, the Expo for Latin America in May. And I would like to invite everybody who is watching today to also join us on our virtual booth and get in contact to us. I'm looking forward to answer any question, and thank you.
Thank you.
Renata, if you allow me
know
to send the first question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Feel free.
I mean, congrats for your presentation. It was a great one.
You.
And I'd like to know, in your solution of forecasting the energy, I think we have different ways of calculate the price of energy in each country. So I think your solution have needs a setup, a first setup to run, right? How do you do this? How much you spend doing this first setup for maybe a solution in Brazil?
Thank you for the question. And you're right, it depends to a certain degree on the country where we are operating these pilots. But what I want to highlight here, there's a difference between forecasting the energy consumption or production, or forecasting the prices on the market itself. And for these prices on the market, I completely agree. But when we are looking into the energy volumes, let's say, for production and consumption, it doesn't matter where we are operating. So that's always the same, depending on the meter infrastructure that we have. Usually how such a pilot looks like for forecasting an entire portfolio of different consumers, maybe residential, commercials, but also like production assets such as PV. We first run a trial on historic data, usually in the range of 2 years. And then we first generate the results, and this takes approximately 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on the complexity of such a portfolio. Once that is successful, we are integrating a live integration of the data. So if smart meter data is available, this would be the next step.
It's a kind of solution for clients, right? That have any different sources of energy.
Exactly, it is highly suitable for those who want to improve their forecast to get a better understanding of their operations. So if you are supplying electricity, this is highly beneficial to get a better understanding and to better plan your production. But it's also good for those who want to optimize their consumption behavior. So there are multiple applications.
Okay. So it's not indicate for trades, right? If you're doing trades.
This is also included. So the focus is on the volume forecast, because we are running the optimization on these forecasts as well. And this is aligned with the prices that we see on the market. So if we are looking not only in the forecasting system itself to better understand the behavior, the volume, but if one really wants to optimize the system, our system automatically aligns with the best and most beneficial opportunity on the market to trade and sell electricity.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
We don't have any questions for the moment here on the chat, but I don't know if our colleagues want to ask you some questions. If not, we are going to move for the next presentation. So thank you again, Amin.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and feel free to join us or to follow us on YouTube if you want, or if you want to stay here with us also. And if you want also share your contacts with us, because then I can put on the YouTube chat. So for those who want to know more about the FSI technologies and solutions. I have here one question, but I'll bring it here. Like, if this B2C, or the solution is B2C or C2C, or can be B2B.
Two answers. For the forecasting solution, it's B2B, so mostly utilities using it. The second, the optimize, is B2B, but also can B2B to C. So basically, the utilities are optimizing existing assets of industries, but also like for the operation of communities or microgrids. So there is a linkage, but we are only in contact with utilities. So we establish a B2B relationship as we deliver our software as a service.
Okay, thank you. So, Leandro, I'll pass my place to you to present the Brazilian companies. So feel free to present them. I will stay here if you want anything.
Thank you, Renata. So I'd like to introduce our next guest, Douglas Ferreira. He is the co-founder and head of global business development of FORRA. FORRA is a company that is leading energy intelligence in Latin America, dedicated to the energy blockchain market and the 3Ds of energy. I'm pretty sure that FORRA nowadays is one of the most important companies leading innovation and blockchain in the energy sector. So, be welcome, Douglas Ferreira.
Thank you, Leandro, for kind words. It's a pleasure to be here again, talking to you guys, and thank you, Renata, from NRGHub, for having us again. It's always a pleasure to talk about energy and innovation in this sector. So, with no further ado, I'm going to share my screen. So I want to present quickly to you.
Only to advise you, I can see a little bit of noise. I don't know if only me to hearing that, or if it's okay for everyone to listen.
I think it's a problem with your mic, Douglas.
Just give me 1 second here. Let me try to turn off the fan.
Because I think maybe is on the problem of the.
Sorry, is it better now?
No, I think it's not this problem.
To see on the settings. When you put on the settings, maybe your voice and your headset is not aligned. Like is not on the same.
Yes, in fact it is. I would just try to remove.
Okay. This happened with all of us on this home office life, so don't worry. I think now maybe it's okay. I'll share your screen.
Yeah, I hope it's working a bit better now.
Yeah.
Much
Now
much
it's
better now. Much
yeah.
better now, Douglas.
Okay, thank you for your patience, and sorry for that. This is how it works in the new world, right?
Don't worry.
Yeah, so can you see my screen already? I will share my screen. Just, I appreciate if you can say if you can see my screen.
It's okay now.
Okay, good. So I have split this presentation in 3 different parts. The first, I'm going to talk about the scenario, not only in Brazil, but globally, what's going on in the world today. Then the second part, I'm going to talk a bit about FOHA, and the third part about the projects we have, not only in Brazil, but also globally. So talking a little bit about the scenario, we have 3 main changes, like 4 main piles, in fact, that we're going to see this main change globally. We have this geopolitical change, the economic change, environment change, and also how we deal with the commodities in the energy sector. So we see every day like a change to fossil fuels, changing towards renewables, and that's something that is a way with no return in the energy sector. And to clarify a bit better about it, I really like this image here, in which we see the scenario in 3 main cities in the world in a pre-pandemic scenario and after the pandemic. And we can see that the COVID pandemic have affected a lot, in a good way, the air quality in those cities. And some people asked me, okay, but what's the relation between the pollution and the energy sector? We have to consider here that 30% of all the carbon that we issue to the atmosphere, all the pollution that we issue to the atmosphere, came from large power plants, especially coal-fired power plants and gas-fired power plants. And just to contextualize that change that we are going to start to face, especially now in the next 30 years, when we look this graph from the International Agency of Renewable Energy, we can see that in 2015, 76% of the energy generated globally came from non-renewable sources. That means we are mainly generating energy globally from coal-fired power plants and gas-fired power plants, which pollute a lot. But now in the next 30 years, until 2050, the new scenario is going to be this one that we see in the screen. 85% of the energy is expected to be generated from renewable sources. So it's a huge change that we're going to start to see in the next 30 years. A few people are surprised when they show the Brazilian scenario, because in Brazil, we are in the opposite side of the situation. In Brazil today, already we generate mostly of our energy from renewable sources. So as you can see, 82% of the energy we generate comes from renewable sources. But that doesn't mean that we don't have our own challenges, and that's what I want to explain. Every country have their own challenges, specifically to the sector. So globally, these main changes that we're going to see, they are driven by what we call the 3 Ds of the energy sector. So the first D is decentralization, the second D is digitalization, and the third D is the decarbonization that is here represented by electrification. So it's a new way to generate energy through renewables, wind power plants, solar power plants, replacing those traditional ways to generate energy through coal or fossil fuels. And just to understand the impact of this change globally, when we look the way we generate energy today, we have generation in one side, transmission and distribution bringing this energy until the cities or until the loads that are the consumption sides. And when we analyze the flexibility in each one of these areas, we can see that in the generation side, we have pretty much a great amount of flexibility, mainly because we have different ways to generate energy. We have nuclear energy, we have hydro energy, we have thermal power plants. So there is a bit more flexibility in this regard. But when we go towards the transmission and distribution, the flexibility falls a lot. So we have pretty much low flexibility, and even lower flexibility in the consumption side. And we're going to start to see a change in this direction. direction. There is two main things I want to underline here. We have the energy, the physical energy flow represented in orange. So pretty much today we have a unidirectional energy flow coming from generation to towards consumption. And also we have the opposite unidirectional monetary flow. So every time we pay the bill of the energy, the distribution company just passes this cost to the other players in the line. So essentially, when we start to talk about these new changes in the energy sector, that's the new scenario that we're going to see more often now. In the generation, we have new ways to generate energy, or relatively new, I would say, with wind power plants coming pretty strong in the past 15 years, I would say. Solar power plants coming more stronger also in the past 10 years. And these have also increased a bit the flexibility in the generation side. But also we see a major change in the transmission and distribution line, mainly driven by IoT, the Internet of Things. So those devices are going to start to generate much more information in this area. That's going to be pretty useful for the companies in the energy sector. But the major change we are going to see is in the consumption side. So when we talk about the consumers, there is this new term called prosumer, which is the mixture of two words, energy producers with energy consumers. So in order to become an energy producer, essentially you need to have what we call distributed energy resource. And here there is a few examples of distributed energy resources. Distributed generation is the most known, I would say, when we install a solar PV in the rooftop of your house, for example. But we also can mention here energy storage, smart meters, electrical vehicles, smart charging, and there is many others here. So it might not look like a reality today, but I recently came back to Brazil, but I was living 2 years in Australia, studying the Australian market, and that's one of the countries that you can see this change really easily. So Australia is today one of the countries that have the most adoption of rooftop solar PVs. So 1 in each 3 houses in Australia already have a solar panel installed. And what is the major change when we have 30% of the population, almost the residential population, with solar PV installed at home? All the energy that you generate and is not consumed instantly, it's injected back to the grid. So this creates what we call the two-way energy flow. So as we can see here in the orange bar, this energy coming back creates a two-way energy flow, which is a really big challenge considering that the infrastructure was not designed for that. And you also see a major change in the monetary flow, because this consumer, it not only paid the bill as a few years ago, but he's also making some profits. It's making earnings and also saving money. So he's also receiving some earnings from the energy he generates locally, and it alters the monetary flow as well. So that's the major change we see. We see now a huge flexibility being created in the consumption side. And although this is still not a reality in Brazil, but is going to be a reality in Brazil in the next coming years, how can we translate this energy transition that we are living globally to the Brazilian situation? When we look to the Brazilian situation, that's the major change we see, how we trade energy. So today, only 30% of the Brazilian customers can trade energy in what we call the free energy market. But this is about to change in the next 7 years. So there is a regulation that is going to totally deregulate the energy markets in a way that is going to become really similar to what Australia is today. So in Australia, even residential customers can choose the source of generation that they are buying energy from. And here we have some major news in the Brazilian news talking about it. So I can mention the PLS 232, which is going to be responsible for the opening of the free energy market in Brazil. And another one that I have to underline here is that the price of the energy in the spot market is going to become hourly from this year on. So this especially affects the customers from the free energy market, because they are the ones that are more exposed to the volatility of the market if they don't have a really good management of the energy contracts they have. So with all those changes happening globally, this energy transition meaning different stuff in different countries, what's the paper of FOHA? What FOHA does in all that? So that's what I want to explain here in the second chapter. So talking a bit about the structure of FOHA, we have our main headquarters here in Brazil, in the city of Curitiba. We also have a subsidiary of FOHA in Australia to explore the Asia-Pacific markets. And soon this year, we are going to release some really good news that I cannot say today, but keep an eye on FOHA social media that we are going to announce some major structures changes in this regard. So what is FOHA? FOHA is what we call an energy intelligence company, and this is a pretty much new concept that a few people still don't understand. So what is energy intelligence? It's an innovation area within the energy sector to provide technology solutions for generation, distribution, storage, and energy consumption. So essentially what we do, we analyze society and the market demands to provide technology in order to connect the energy sector with the economy sector, because essentially the energy sector is going to become something really similar to what economy sector is today. And we do this pretty much applying the 3Ds of the energy sector every single day. So we have the know-how and we know how to apply these 3Ds of the energy sector in practice, applying lots of cutting-edge technologies, and one of them is the blockchain technology, which is the topic of this presentation today. So talking a bit about our major achievements, FOHA was created in 2017, and in these 3 past years, I have one that I want to acknowledge here. FOHA is today the top 2 energy startup in the energy sector in Brazil. And we have grown also exponentially in these last 3 years. We have started with our 2 founders. Today, we are more than 30 FOHAckers. That's the way we call, in a very special way, our team that work with us. And 2021 is a really special year for us because it's the year that we are going to launch our product for the first time in the Brazilian market. So that's a really huge achievement for us. Talking about our technology base, so we work on top of these 3 main pillars of technology: artificial intelligence, IoT, and blockchain. And the main idea is to apply these 3 major technologies to solve these 3 main flows. We solve the energy flow, we solve the contractual flow, and the financial flow. And this is quite important to understand why we apply blockchain in the energy sector. Every energy transition, every energy trading that we have in the system, there is a contract behind that, and there is a financial flow behind that, and that's where blockchain can support, especially with the smart contract infrastructure, to provide more efficiency in terms of velocity, safety, and also immutability for these contracts. So here I want to show quickly a bit our ecosystem of platforms. In the left side, we can see in orange, in the bottom side, the platform that we are developing with AES in Brazil. It's the first over-the-counter, is the first organized over-the-counter market in Brazil. Essentially, it is a system to execute energy trading orders, applying on top of blockchain technology. So NRGHub is one of our partners in this regard. So they provide their technology infrastructure to be able to provide this technology. We can see in the top left side, Terminal Broker, which is essentially the platform that is going to transmit these orders to the CCE, which is the Brazilian player that is going to do the settlement of these contracts. And this platform can also do the whole management of the back office for the players, especially for the ones that participate of the free energy market. In the right side in blue, we can see the platforms that are more connected to the financial sector. So we have the central counterparty that is going to behave somehow like a clearinghouse. So in this platform, we use Corda technology developed by R3 here in Brazil. Is a platform that is a blockchain that is really known in the financial sector, especially the banks in Brazil. So our intention is to bring the banks to support all the management of this financial structure that we are providing to the market this year. And to finalize, we have also the collateral management that is going to help the players from the free energy markets to do margin calls, to manage the exposure of the counterparties in the system. So essentially, it's a system to manage the risks involved in these tradings. So I want to finalize this presentation just talking a bit about our projects that we have in Brazil and globally. The first one I want to mention here is the project that we have in the city of Melbourne in Australia. So this is a market, it's an open market in Melbourne, in which we are helping them to create an energy community to connect the energy generated in this market with the community living around, so they can share energy or sell energy and do many stuff here. The second project I want to mention is a project that we have in Santiago in Chile. Our partner in this project is Acciona. So we have developed energy intelligent microgrid system that is able to use the DERs installed here to provide stability to the network through these DERs. The third project is the project with IAS in Brazil, in São Paulo. So here we are creating the first organized over-the-counter market in Brazil using blockchain technology. And also in this project, we will be able to trade renewable energy certificates, which is like a sub-product of energy that is pretty much known nowadays in the energy area. And the last project, but not less important for sure, we have a project in the city of Curitiba with our partners in TechPar, in which we are testing peer-to-peer energy trading behind the meter. So the idea is that one building can trade energy directly with other building, which is, I would say, the state of the art that we're going to have in the future. Once one house will be able to trade energy with the other house in the other side of the road. But of course, we have to start this behind the meter to be able to test technology and also to do the right adjustments in the regulation. So with that said, just to finalize the presentation, we have now a really game changer in our in FOHA. Is the information that I'm bringing in firsthand that we are going to launch this commercial product for the first time in the Brazilian market. It's a really special moment for us. This product is what we call a one-stop shop for trading. Essentially, is a platform that you can manage the whole process of energy trading from beginning until the end. So in one single place, you can search for energy offers, you can close the trading, execute these tradings, you can do the settlement of the energy, manage all the risk, manage the back office, you can trade renewable energy certificates. So essentially, it's the state of the art that we have in the energy sector in Brazil that is going to help this energy transition towards a free energy market. So that was the information I wanted to bring to you guys today. And I'm available here to answer any questions that you might have. So thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. I'm suspicious to talk about FOHA because I'm a big fan. All the events I invite you to participate, I say that. So I'll bring a question here that we have from Carlos, and he wants to know how do you see the timing, I think the legal timing for the energy and money flowing and this innovation, like I think what he's saying, like here in Brazil, we usually bring the innovation before the regulation. And how do you see the regulation of this market using this kind of FOHA solutions, for example?
Yeah, this is a really, really good question. This is something that we say every day, almost every day, I would say, in FOHA. Like technology comes first, and then regulation have to follow the technology that is being developed. That's why we also always try to bring good partners to do the trial of these projects in a pilot project, so we can test technology first in a safe environment, and then after that we can also start discussing with the regulators what have to be changed in order to bring this technology to field. So regarding the timing, it's really hard to answer these specifically because we have so many different aspects that have to be discussed. But if I talk about the state of the art, which is peer-to-peer energy trading, for example, we still have this challenge on how we pay for the usage of the distribution system. How do we pay for the usage of poles and wires? Because all the costs of this infrastructure today is spread among everyone. And if I start to trade energy with my neighbor in the other side of the street, of course, I have to pay also the cuts or the share of the infrastructure usage. So that's the way we do. That's why we are doing this project with TechPar and also other partners, so we can test in a safe environment and then start discussing regulation. In some more, I would say, advanced markets like in Australia, this is something that is already being discussed today. There is other companies doing these trials for some years now. And that's why we also went to Australia, so we can also have a look closer in this project and the results and the report provided by this project, so we can understand what's the direction they are going towards. So we can also bring the same kind of discussion to the Brazilian market.
Douglas.
Thank you. Yeah.
May I?
Yeah. No, I only put everybody here on the stage so we can see each other.
Yeah, Douglas, in your opinion, looking for the future and the energy sector, where do you see we have space for new developments and innovations using blockchain in this sector?
Yeah, blockchain, the way we see today, the bigger application we see is regarding the smart contracts, because when we talk about this expansion of the market, this big change, mainly in the consumption side, when we talk about the distributed energy resources, this is a huge change. So if you talk about like a few years ago, we used to have like 100 large power plants trading energy with maybe another 200 or 300 energy traders. I'm just saying a few numbers because it was a small amount of people trading energy in the system, but it already generates large amounts of data and large amounts of contracts that have to be negotiated and traded and so on. But now in this new system, we have distributed energy resources coming in a household level. So we have smart meters, we have solar PV, electrical vehicles. Even in my house in Australia, I had a washing machine that was smart enough to settle the time I want to wash my clothes. And these devices are going to start to become connected with the energy system, so they can turn on and turn off in the right timing according to the energy prices. So this is just an example on how dynamic things are going to start to become. And the more resources we have in the network, the more contracts we have to do. So we are going to reach a point that every single device might have a contract to trade the energy. So for example, my car, my electrical vehicle can trade energy differently from my solar PV, or I can sell part of my energy to someone and part of the energy I can consume myself. So these bigger amounts of data, bigger amounts of trades are going to demand a better technology, more prepared for this volume of data. And that's where I see the most value in the blockchain, because we need a system that is safe enough, that is quick enough, and that is for sure immutable, that people can trust. And that was one of the main bets that we did when we chose blockchain technology to be applied in the energy sector.
Okay, thank you, Douglas. Renata.
Yeah, you can introduce Antonio. We don't have any questions, so feel free to introduce him.
Okay, I will introduce you now to Antonio Hoffert. Antonio Hoffert is a Brazilian economist, author of the Sustainable Economic Development Plan for Minas Gerais, one of our states here in Brazil, and author of a book called Cryptonomia. That is also the name of his company. that he is the co-founder, right? Cryptonomia is a company that provides blockchain corporate softwares and solutions, and he's also teacher at Fundação Dom Cabral. And in my opinion, I'm a fan of Antonio, and I think he is one of the great specialists in blockchain nowadays in Brazil. So welcome, Antonio.
Thank you, Leandro. Thank you very much for your kind words. It is an honor to me to be here with you guys. Can you listen to me all right? Is the audio okay?
All clear.
Okay. Well, guys, I have been working at Cryptonomia for the past 2 years, and we develop basically blockchain corporate solutions. So we try to solve problems using blockchain technology. And I would like to use my time here to present to you with a case study, which in the best of my knowledge is the biggest application for blockchain in Latin America, at least industrial-wise, okay? Because we have very big players engaged on this network nowadays. And I'm not an energy specialist, but I think I have ideas that the same case study concept idea could be also applied to the energy market. So as we were listening to our previous presenter, smart contracts are the technological platform in which decentralization takes place when we are involving different parties. For example, different companies, different institutions, and so on. And what I would like to present to you guys, let me understand how I can share my screen over here. Okay. What I would like to present, can you see my screen?
Yeah. I
Great.
think you have to put on the presentation mode. Maybe.
Okay.
But we can see. It's good.
Okay, I think now it's better, right?
Now it's okay.
Okay. Well, when we talk about blockchain, the first thing that comes to mind is Bitcoin, right? Are the cryptocurrencies. But as I like to say, money or the financial application for blockchain is only the first use case, which was more urgent, right? But actually, blockchain is a communication protocol that serves a lot of other goals and objectives. One, just to point how I think the technology is gaining momentum, I'm going to use this Gartner chart about innovation. And we always start in this early stage of innovation, which is called the innovation trigger, when very early adopters, they start to use the technology, the Bitcoin nerds, right? And they start to use it, but without clear use cases. They're just playing with the technology, trying to see what are the boundaries and what is the value generated. And very soon, what we see is a peak of inflated expectations. This was what happened with blockchain in 2017 in Brazil and in the entire world. And this peak of inflated expectations, which we call in layman's words bubbles, right? This always bursts, and then we go to the third phase, which is the depression state, right? Oh, this technology is worthless. We won't be able to apply it to processes. But then slowly, we gather momentum to the fourth phase, which we call the slope of enlightenment. Whenever this natural selection happen on the markets, all the bad-oriented companies, they leave this market, okay, because they're not capable to generate value. And these mechanics select the best players to provide products and services to governments, companies, and to the public in general. So whenever we finish this phase of the slope of enlightenment, we reach a plateau of productivity. So in my opinion, with blockchain technology, we are between the fourth and the fifth phase. At the end of the fourth phase and entering the fifth phase. For example, there is a very specific industry, which is the steel making industry and the refractory industry, which are the refractory bricks they use on steel making equipments, that we were invited to create a consensus mechanism to help those industries to relate with each other in a more fair, clear, transparent, auditable way, always oriented to governance. So this is the case I want to show to you guys. Just as an example, RHI Magnesita and Gerdau, which is a steel making company and a supplier, they have performance contracts. For example, I don't know if we have a lot of performance contracts in the energy sector, but any contract that involves calibrations or measurements for the supplier to be paid is a performance contract. For example, when you consume energy and you don't know beforehand how much you will need to consume, and then you just pay after the consumption, that could be a performance contract. Well, and in the steel making industry, they had a lot of consensus problems. They disagreed on production aspects. Executives were often called to resolve disputes, okay? And they couldn't find a good way to solve this problem until we used the blockchain, okay, to build a consensus mechanism. What is this? Well, consensus mechanisms, they are applications that specializes in establishing a foundation of trust between two parties or more, okay? And this foundation of trust can be achieved via decentralization. Because when you don't control the source of data, okay, and you cannot manipulate, you cannot tamper with the data, that's when you start building trust, okay? So no matter who is hosting the software, the application, this is a web application, if we register everything on the blockchain, we know that the state of the information is going always to be transparent, auditable, and therefore tending to be always true, okay? And when you have a layer of consensus and you have established truth between parties, conflicts, disputes, they just goes away, okay? So how blockchain can help to achieve these things? First of all, there are different levels of decentralizations. The first one is the proof of consensus, when two parties, they agree on specific conditions. We can also make transparent the business rules, so we don't need to use Excel sheets to control how much one supplier has to be paid. We can do it everything using smart contracts that do not need any human interference, and they can calculate the outcome, the payment, and any other variable automatically and in a autonomous way. Okay, and we can also use blockchain to do financial automation, because transfer of value, just like we see with Bitcoin, is the native use case for blockchain applications. So it is a very holistic solution for industries in general, okay? And by definition, we call it a commercial, a technical, a financial, and a legal interface between the company and its suppliers in any kind of performance contracts, okay? So we even have an arbitrage chamber implemented with smart contracts. So if any disputes or stalemates arises, we can reach consensus always in a cheap, fast way without needing to depend on the common justice. And that's amazing. Doing that only with technology in a transparent, fair way generates a lot of value. So the benefits of those kinds of applications for industries in general are the operational risk reduction, because you have absolute legal certainty regarding all the measurements, all the variables, because the technicians, they had to input those variables, and a technician from the other party has always to cross-validate all the information. So we know both companies are always on the same level of trust, okay? And by doing this, we reduce costs with personnel, and we gain margin for negotiation, for better relationships between the parties. So this is a way to use smart contracts to improve, not only to digitalize the process, but to decentralize the process and create business methodology for any kind of industries. I think on the energy sector, we will be able to find a lot of opportunities that blockchain can add: transparency, auditability, immutability of records. And by generating trust, how we reduce is the counterparty risk. For example, if you have a bank, okay, and you have a high level of default that with people that are not paying their dues, you will have to raise interest, okay, to compensate for that problem. But if you don't have any kind of default, if you have a trust layer that is always updated, that is always consensed between the parties, you can keep the interest rate very low, because trust gives you previsibility, and that's what we are capable to deliver to the companies using blockchain. So this was just a business case I would like to share with you guys, and because this is going to be, and already is in production in Gerdau and REICH Magnesita. Again, for the best of my knowledge, and this is the biggest blockchain case for industries in Brazil, I thought it was a good idea to share this with you guys, and maybe we together can find applications for the energy sector.
Okay, thank you, Antonio.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone that is following us until now have any questions, but when we wait for the questions and comments, I'll invite Deborah, that is responsible for the energy tax and green tax on the Israel trade and investments. So then she is responsible also to invite all our Israeli company partners. So Deborah, if you want to present yourself and tell us a little bit more about Israel trade and investments here in Brazil.
Great, thank you, Renata. Can you hear me well? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So hello everyone, thank you Renata. As mentioned, I am Deborah. I am the manager of the energy sector here at the Israeli Ministry of Economy office in Rio, Investment and Trade. First of all, I would like to thank you, of course, the NRGHub and Renata for this amazing partnership. All our colleagues that presented very, very interesting technologies for us today. And of course, everyone watching. It was a pleasure to have you all with us. And as Renata said, our office is available if you need any type of support when it comes to Israeli companies and Israeli technologies, okay, for the energy sector and for other sectors as well. Our main objective is to help to connect the Israeli innovation ecosystem that was presented here today with the Brazilian market. So if you wish to get to know what Israel has to offer for the energy market, you're more than welcome to contact us, okay? Our scope is 100% customized to our partners' needs. My email details is on the chat, okay? So feel free to write to me. I will be very glad to help, okay? Renata, I think she will mention later, we have one more event of the Energy Talks promoting the Israel ecosystem next month. Information will be shared very soon, so stay connected. And thank you one more time, everyone, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you, Renata.
Thank you, Deborah. Yeah, I didn't mention yet, but we are going to have one more webinar talking about bringing solutions from the innovation ecosystem of Israel. And the next subject we are going to treat is a subject that is discussed on Europe market, that is the green hydrogen and the hydrogen the energy from hydrogen, how we can apply the hydrogen on the energy matrix here in Brazil, and what's new around the world related to that subject. But I'm very glad about today because I learned a lot about this. Because for me, blockchain is a complex world to understand, and especially when we connect the blockchain to the energy sector, that also is complex when you talk here in the Brazilian market. So I'm very glad. And Antonio, you explain like in a very easy way to educational way to understand how we can like boost the blockchain to other sectors, not only related to the financial sectors. And this is very interesting, how the technology can improve not only the services and products, but also our lives when we are talking about connectivity and so on. So I'm very glad that you could share with us your knowledge and experience on that subject. And we have a few minutes to a few words if you want. And I don't know if Leandro also have any questions, but I'll invite you to say your last words here in our event, in our webinar. And I thank again all the people that are with us, connected with us on the YouTube. And I don't say that, but if you feel free to subscribe on our channel. I'm trying to learn with the digital influencers on the energy sector. So if you could share also our content, I'll be glad to like disseminate this kind of knowledge and experience from from all our companies. So thank you once more.
Thank you, Renato.
Okay, please, Antonio.
I was just going to mention that for the energy sector in Brazil, at Cryptonomia, we had tried an initiative to decentralize the energy trading in Brazil, because it's highly centralized. The free market in Brazil happens. All the trades, they are consolidated in only one institution, if I'm not mistaken. And I think for distributed generation in the next 5 years, we are going to see marketplaces involving blockchain technology to prove that energy is from a renewable source. So I think this is where the technology is going to be applied in Brazil. And I really hope to see those marketplaces, just as we have cryptocurrencies exchanges. I think we will have energy tokens in Brazil that can be traded in various different ways. That's my vision for the Brazilian trading market relating to energy. That's the comment I would like to state. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Douglas, please.
Just as final words, it's really good to talk with experts in the blockchain area in Brazil, because we know is still a technology that have to be fostered in terms of sharing the information and the usage of this technology. It's really good to see the vision of Antonio, because it's the same vision that we have at FOHA. Like the market is going to become something more distributed in the energy sector, and platforms such as the one that we are developing, they are essential to support this decentralization, but not only the decentralization of the way we trade energy, but also to prove that the electron generated in one side actually comes from a renewable source. So this dynamic market that you're going to start to see more and more often in the next coming years, they need technology to support that. Otherwise, it's going to be something that we have to care a lot. So I would say our vision is pretty much aligned. I'm always glad to participate on these events. So as my final words, again, I'm here available for any discussions that you want to have. My contacts are in the chat. And thank you again for having us here in this amazing webinar.
Thank you. I'm thinking right now, like, I don't like to say final words, because it's a little on this moment that we are living. It's not a good thing to say. So it's the last words, like, on this event. And I thank you. I'm very glad and excited, and sometimes I forgot how to speak the words that is in my mind. But I'm very glad and grateful for the presence of everybody, that our colleagues, and also the people that are watching us. So if you want also to know more about our initiatives and our events, you can follow us on our social medias and on the YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Keep yourself safe, please. And lots of good energy for everyone, because I think we need this to continue moving forward and improving not only our business, but also our life. So thank you very much.
Renata, do you have the, do you already have the day and time for the next event, for the third Energy Talks?
Yeah, it will be on the 27th April.
Oh, okay. So if you allow me, I want to thank you, Douglas, Antonio, Deborah, for this, I can say, partnership. And thank you again. It was a great content. I'm wondering that all industry, all persons of industry and energy sector need to know about how can blockchain can solve some problems they have. So thank you again. Thank you, Renata, for the confidence. Bye-bye.
Thank you. So bye. Have a nice week or middle of week. And again, keep yourself safe. And if you could, stay at home. I usually don't do that, but we need this help from everybody. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Keep safe.
Everyone. Bye-bye. Keep safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye.